Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here to do some more horror movie reviews. I figured it was about time since I just got done doing Justice League. I just recently got the Phantasm box set. I'm a big fan of Phantasm. It's one of my favorite horror movie franchises. I enjoy all 5 films pretty much. Of course, some more than others, and I'll get into them right here with the reviews. Phantasm Part 1, of course, is a classic in my opinion. I give it 4 stars out of 4. It's a great movie. Only big problem with it I have is the ending. I don't like the ending. I feel it's a little too cliche with the final jump scare thing. I'm not going to get too into the plots here because pretty much anybody who's watching these videos knows about Phantasm. The movie's about a little boy, basically, who is dealing with separation of his brother, who he's afraid is going to leave him, and his parents have died, and you don't really know what's real in Phantasm and what isn't, which is what I really enjoy about the films. That's why the movies would never be mainstream, because most people prefer definitive answers on what's actually going on, but with Phantasm, you never get a definitive answer. You never do. They deliberately come up with, they deliberately throw multiple ideas at the screen to you as the viewer to give you different stuff that you can pick and choose from for whatever you want the answers to be. Now, Don Coscarelli directs the first movie, and it stars Michael Baldwin, Angus Scrimm as the tall man, and Bill Thornberry as Jody. It's a great film. I highly recommend it. Just the little twist at the ending where the kid wakes up and it's like it was all a dream, and he walks into his room, and then the tall man's just like in the corner. And when he says "boy," that is real cool. Angus Scrimm does a great job as the tall man. That's cool. But at the same time, you don't really. I think Phantasm probably could have been just a solo movie. I think a movie like this would have been better with a more subtle ending, like was it a dream or wasn't it? Like maybe he sees like a dwarf sneaking by behind him or something like that, and then he just goes off, giving like a little creepy ending instead of like a big shock ending, like here's the tall man still alive. I just figured that would have kind of been better, in my opinion. Phantasm 2, also directed by Don Coscarelli. Starring Reggie Bannister, and not a Michael Baldwin this time, who's been replaced by James LaGrosse. I'll be honest, I actually like James LaGrosse. I think he did a good job as the older Mike. He comes off different here, the character does. He's more tough, he's ready to kick the tall man's ass, which I enjoyed. There's also a new female character named Liz. This movie is much more straightforward than the first movie. There's not as much dream logic and stuff like that in this. This is pretty much just a straightforward action type flick. But it works good as like that. It's like the aliens to the first one's Alien, kind of. This movie is not as good as the first one. I do miss a little bit of the dream logic, and the ending, once again, is predictable, as it's just another jump scare type ending like the first movie. I'd give it 3.5 out of 4. It's a pretty good sequel. It's pretty good. Not as good as the first one, but pretty good. Basically, you got Mike and Reggie from the first film who team up to go to take on the tall man. You still got some cool scenes, like there's this hunchback thing comes out of this chick's back, and it's like, you play a good game, boy. That was cool. Good special effects. The love interest girl, she is good, even though it gets a little cheesy with their psychic abilities or whatever, talking in their minds. That's a little much. The way the tall man is, killed at the end by getting stabbed with like what is supposed to be embalming fluid, but it's actually like acid that Reggie put in the thing. That was cool. You get the Phantasm 3 Lord of the Dead. It's more of a horror comedy as compared to the first two. The first one is like a sci-fi, mind-bending horror flick. The second one is like an action movie. This third one is almost like an Evil Dead film, really, and I like that. Some people are split on this one, where they don't like the over-the-top comedy. I'll admit the comedy does get a little much when the kid is doing like the Home Alone type antics or whatever. But other than that, I didn't have any problem with it. I like the new characters of Rocky. She's hot. She's good in the movie. I like the character of Tim. He's good in the film. I have no problem with anybody really in the film acting-wise. I even thought the 3 zombies that kept going after the main leads were hilarious. Any problems with the film? Some of the comedy is a little much. And at the end, of course, you get the same overdone twist ending. You think Tall Man's dead. Oops, he's still alive. This time they kill him with cold because he doesn't like the cold. It's one of his weaknesses. He's a character who's like from another planet, pretty much, and he wants to abduct the dead and shrink them down and send them to his dimension as slaves so he can like take over the galaxy, turn everybody into his slaves for some ultimate end that we don't know about. Pretty much looks like he's from Mars, really. It's like a red planet. Any other problems with Phantasm 3? Not really. It is a little bit too goofy at times, but other than that, I had a good time with this one. I'd give it 3 stars out of 4. One thing I like about these films is they each pick up directly after the film before. Another thing about these movies is they raise a lot of questions, and some questions they don't give any definitive answers to because because Don Coscarelli never had definitive answers. He just wanted to throw in like what it possibly could be and just let you decide for yourself. Some things he just gives no answers to at all because he himself didn't have any answers. He just put the ideas in there and he leaves it up to your imagination yourself to decide what it is. Like, why does Mike all of a sudden in this film have a ball in his head like the tall man does? No answer. It's just left up for you to decide. They offer hints in the movie, but not enough to be anything conclusive. And some parts they don't offer any kind of hints, so it's just left up to you. Sorry about this little jump cut right here, this little mess up where I'm obviously wearing something different here. The reason is because I accidentally edited it out and lost my footage of me talking about Phantasm 4, or at least most of my footage of me talking about Phantasm 4 after the first three. But anyway, just to jump into Phantasm 4 here and the complete me talking about the movies, I'd give it 2 stars out of 4. It's an okay movie. It goes on a little bit too long. Reggie doesn't really have a lot to do in the film. He just kind of gets another generic love interest who he tries to get laid again. She has balls for titties. That was kind of cool. Chick was hot, but she just gets kind of dispatched with and wasted. She just turns into a zombie, and Reggie crushes her head with a sledgehammer, which is kind of cool, but ultimately amounts to nothing. I like how Mike is kind of becoming like a Jedi, and he's using the Force more, and he makes like his own sphere weapon. And he blows the tall man up with it at the end in the desert. Pretty much the film ends where it like could all be in Mike's head or whatever, which I like that. It ends with like hinting that the franchise may all just be in Mike's head and it may all just be one big illusion, which is what I've always personally felt was the real truth of this franchise, that none of it was actually happening and like it's just all just one big metaphor for dealing with death. That's just my opinion on it, really. You can have any opinion you want. The film ends with Mike dying and Reggie going after the tall man, and like it skips to like young Mike who like thinks he hears himself dying or whatever, or hears it, and he's riding away with Reggie, and they're both young, and they're going like riding in his ice cream truck down the street in the dark, and Reggie's like, "Did you hear something?" And Mike goes, "It's just the wind," like he's ignoring it. I thought that was really epic, and it's creepy and ominous. To me, it felt like it was Mike finally letting go of this imaginary world that he's created to deal with the loss of his brother or whatever. To me, that's what it was. Personally, that's the way I took it. Since we have a part 5, it adds, even more to the mythology. So, anyway, for part 4, I'd give it 2 out of 4. It's an okay film. It's a little bit, there's just not a lot that happens in it, really. And Reggie doesn't have really much to do. That's just my thoughts on Phantasm 4. So, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of my video. We get to Phantasm 5. People are really split on this one. I'd give Phantasm 5 3 stars out of 4. I think it's a good ending for Phantasm. Once again, you got the same old kind of stuff back. It has some low... And the movie ends with you thinking it might all be in Reggie's head, or it may not be, which I think is a perfect ending for it, like he may have dementia or whatever. And it's just a really sweet movie because it brings all the characters back together. So you can see it in either way of it being real or not, which I think is just the perfect ending for this franchise, and the only one that honestly would make sense. So all in all, that's my review for the Phantasm films. I think the third one is good. I think the 5th one is good. Some people don't like it. I personally don't mind it. Some of the jumping around between alternate realities is a little annoying in the film, but all in all, it's a good movie in my opinion. So that's the Phantasm franchise. All in all, I'd give it 3 stars out of 4. I think it's a good franchise. As a whole, it's 3 stars out of 4, but each movie is enjoyable in my opinion, even the 4th one, which is the weakest to me. So yeah, all in all, I'll see you guys again with the next review.